Stop. I know I told you 10. You were just like the fucking coffee cup. You expected me to get a 10, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. So what do we got? You guys got anything written down?
We do indeed. We want a little quiet time over here.
I thought you guys were going to be my first class to like be like insubordinate, and I was like so excited. You did what you were told. That's okay. What else should I expect out of you, right? Okay. All right. So everybody kind of gather around.
No. Sorry.
What's up?
No, sir.
Oh,
Stay back here.
There you go. You can go down that road if you want. You won't be at Target all day. All right, here's how this works. We talk. We discuss, okay? I don't think anything is ever taught by an instructor. I don't remember anything any instructor's ever taught me. It's everything I've ever taught myself, or it's come from a conversation about things, okay? So if you keep your mouth shut today, you have a boring time today, and this is uninteresting to you, it's your own fucking fault, okay? Take charge of your life, right? You want to have an interesting life? It's up to you, not me. So, talk. All right. So, well, you did like grossly, were grossly insubordinate. Got 4 fucking questions. They better be good. Right? They're supposed to have how many? 20. And he started this mind mapping crazy shit. That's what that's called, right?
Yes, sir.
Did you guys get this from anyone? Did like she influence you in college? No. She's like, don't blame me. It's not my fault.
We're just trying to
That's fine. That's good.
get.
I've never had this happen before. So that's good. All right, let's look at the questions. All right? So, yes, don't make eye contact with the girl. You hadn't learned that? You get picked. Get up on that table right there. All right. All right. So, now I'm preparing you to make your hide strong, right? So, when you guys go through your briefs here in a couple weeks, you better be prepared to brief. You're part of that group, the whole brief, right? You're a team. So I know he listened. So let's go. Let's talk about go over what you guys talked about.
First we identified what we considered were characteristics of a fragile person. And then we approached the questions from the standpoint of how would we break someone to turn them into a fragile person? What would we ask them to kind of influence them to bring up these type of qualities out? And so our first question that we had was, what is your greatest failure?
All right, stop. That's a good question, right? That's a damn good question. Yeah, that's good enough to fucking make you guys successful. That's like Connor's 20. That'll make you just get down. That's an excellent question. Why is that an excellent question?
It makes somebody not only talk about something that's uncomfortable for them, it makes them reveal what they did wrong and what they feel they did wrong and how it affected their behavior after that, and what they'll kind of vow never to do again, or something that's like a sticking point for them.
It's like kind of shapes their behavior, maybe makes them avoid things. Sometimes that's a good thing, right? Sometimes it's not so good. So what if I rolled your ass up and had you in a cardboard box, and I knew all your greatest failures? Withheld water, withheld food for a couple days, what starts becoming in danger? Everybody see what I'm going? See what I'm talking about? Understand what your failures mean to you. Don't let them own you. Don't let the brain, one of the reasons we're successful as a species, is create all these heuristics for survival. So when it sees a snake, it goes, oh shit, right? Put you in an aircraft, hook you up. If you're not going, oh shit, there's something wrong with you, okay? There's something wrong with you if you are not nervous about that, okay? That is not natural. That's a heuristic. Use it, it's good, okay? That's system 1. System 2 is your judgment, your reason, okay? Here's the catch. There's a limited capacity. It's a biological limit. Your brain receives 20% of your body's energy. resources, okay? Every time you have to make a decision, it's draining on that reasoning, draining on that judgment. So when you're fucking tired and hungry, you're like, yeah, I'll jump in that dumpster. You know, I'm willing to get kicked out of the course, eat a fish head right now, right? It happens. Everybody is susceptible. Do not think you're not susceptible, okay? Keep that in mind. What we're going to do next, you're going to have to address that, all right? Dependable. Whatever you're dependent upon is where you're vulnerable. That's going to affect your integrity. How often do you think about that? How often do you think about, what if I lose all my earthly possessions? What if I go bankrupt? What if I lose my wife and my kid? How many of you ever think about that? It's like depressing. That's reality, right? That's what's going to happen, whether you like it or not. And if you're not prepared for it, you're even more fragile. Doesn't mean it's not going to hurt. It's still going to hurt, right? But as a responsible human being, that's what you ought to be thinking about, right? I mean, think about losing half your opportunity. It's going to happen to somebody. You better have a plan in your mind. How are you going to handle that? You got to go through it. It may not happen exactly the way you thought it was going to happen. That's something you're going to live with the rest of your life, right? Something we never think of. Why do we not think of it? Maybe I'm a Satanist. Every morning I get up and I write that thing down, right? Okay. Give you guys a pass. Because these guys got lots of fucking questions. Good job. Awesome. Oh, what did Emily say? Did you tell them anything? Did they ask you anything? You guys didn't ask her anything?
I think your race result contributed one part of what we were raised.
There is
Who called? Who were you guys supposed to call?
My grandfather.
Did we call him?
They're all dead.
Oh, they're all dead.
Yeah.
Why didn't you get somebody else in your group? I mean, if you could have got a hold of him, that would have been interesting. Okay? Somebody else in the group. Somebody else in the group. Okay? We'll do that when we come back around. Go call them now. Find somebody. Okay, let's go over here. Everybody's like turning away, don't look at me. All right, tell me what you got.
Okay, first, the question was how to build a fragile person. Okay, so what do we deny? You know, coming back to we were kind of discussing that over there. What entities do we provide? So,
What does that mean? What does that mean? Entities. Oh, let's talk about fucking comfort. That's my favorite subject. Anybody been to a Walmart at 10 o'clock at night? You need to fucking go. That's who you're defending, right? Think about it. When's the last time anybody missed it? If somebody in here misses breakfast or lunch, we'll hear about it all day long. Really? When we first started this course, when I tell you stuff, I believe in eating my own cooking. Okay? And what I mean by that is, I don't expect you guys to do anything I tell you to do unless I've done it myself. Okay? That's kind of the way I operate. Sometimes that really fucking sucks. Okay? But some of the things I ask that I think are important are sometimes just plain old comfort. Okay? So, I'm going to tell you some of my things that have happened over. You guys are my sixth class, okay? Some of the things that have happened. I basically have almost eliminated debt. Because debt is a huge problem with everybody. If you're in debt, if you have financial problems, you are significantly vulnerable to losing your integrity, okay? If you don't believe so, that is one of the #1 problems we have to solve right now. Guys down range, violating your integrity over money. What a stupid thing. Mislay the trust of the American people over money. That's the lowest thing you can fucking do, right? So I was like, you know what, I'm telling these guys that, I don't even know how much money I'm making. I just simply don't care, okay? But then I started paying attention. I said, hey, baby, how are we doing on our bills? I was like, holy fuck, what the hell are we doing? So I like put it all down. I'm like, no, we're gonna live like this. So give myself an allowance, and I don't budge. It's the way it is, and we're paying off all that crap, saving our money. How many people here believe they're gonna get a retirement from the U.S. Army? You better think about that. You better think about it, okay? Don't take nothing. You're gonna be just like that cup. You're gonna be 65 years old on it. Baby, I guess I'm gonna go be a Greek. Right? Okay. That was a big change. The guys are still shocked at this. They'll tell you this. I used to drink at a minimum 12 Diet Pepsis a day. At a minimum. Easy. Now I'm on my, I think my 5th successful day of only one. It's gonna stay. I'm terribly afraid of jumping out of airplanes. So every fucking month, I sign up to jump. It fucking sucks still. But I gotta do it, right? If I'm gonna expect you to face that, I have to do that, right? What's up? This is one that this may not be with you guys. I hate cold water. So, for the last 157 days, every morning, usually at 4 o'clock, my wife will hear me in there. Oh, shit. I turn on the shower, and I step in. And I do just like I do jump commands, because it feels just like I'm getting ready to jump out of an airplane. Stand by! She'll hear me in the shower. Stand by! Hold up! Whew! And I'll go right in. 157 days. Ain't got better yet. But I'm not going to crack with cold water. I'm not dependent upon using cold water. Last 5 days, I made her turn the fucking air conditioner on. I said, we're getting soft. As a boy, I grew up in Florida. We didn't have air conditioning. I was like, why do we have air conditioning? So as that goes away, we're going to crack? No. Let's see if we can. What's our plan if that goes away, right? Who was a Canutsu or something? Cool. Talking about losing his family. He's thought about that. Thought about things he's lost, right? How many, when you leave your wife and kids in the morning, treat it as the last time you're going to ever fucking see them? That's awesome. Why do you do that?
You never know.
That's right.
I kiss my wife every day before I leave for work.
That's right. It's hard to argue with when you treat them like that. It is. It is a different relationship when you treat that relationship like that. It's a different relationship when I treat it like that with you and with the people that work with you. You know what I mean? This is the last day I'm ever going to see you. The way I want you to remember me is not as some jackass, right? As a decent human being. That's the only goal I got in life. I die and they say he was a decent human being. Okay? That's a pretty big goal. That's tough, right? I got off an airplane in 2011, changed company command, come down here and started NDU. A week later, told my wife, she had level 3 or whatever they call it, breast cancer. I'm like, no shit. Been gone for fucking 9 years and now I come home and now we're going to kill her. I mean, I'm finally going to get it home for a year. And this is what we get. My wife, she's hard as fucking nails. She's at the NSF wife, right? All those appointments, she's independent, no problem, thank God. She taught me more than I will ever teach her about what it means to be hard. We think we're hard. Until you live like that, you don't understand. So what you're talking about is very important. It's about treating life as the last day, as your entire life is today, right? That's an important thing. How you treat things and how you do things. That, hey, this is the only thing I'm going to be remembered for. How I do this task, whatever it is, okay? That's the way a good officer operates. If you want to maintain your integrity, that's the way you do it. Because you're all going to be put in those positions where you're going to have to make the call to your guys. Hey, this is the right thing to do. I know it fucking sucks. This is what we're going to do. You're going to be in a hole somewhere. You're going to be cold, wet. We're like, no, we're not moving. We got to stay here. We're not going to compromise our Q course. Just going through the Q course. They did that scenario to him in the Q course, what I told you about giving a speech. It's coming, boys. All kinds of things gonna come. Okay? You can handle it. All right? Or you wouldn't be here. What else you got?
What experiences do we provide, you know? So and that kind of goes into what responsibilities do we give them? Getting them out of their comfort zone.
Let's talk about this experiences thing, okay? Because I don't like what's happening right now is I'm talking at you, and that's not a good thing. I never discount anybody's experiences, okay? That's why I have you call external sources. They're a great resource that we ignore. I called my daddy on the way to work this morning. 8 o'clock in the morning, I know he'd been up for 4 fucking hours already. Got up, done his exercise, walked around, rode his bike, told a few lies, read the newspaper. I called him up and I said, "What's going on?" He said, "I'm 80 fucking years old today, that's what's going on." He's like, "I'm halfway there." I mean, even that hard, right? You know what I mean? I always call him. I called my daddy when I was in the Philippines. I said, "Hey, Daddy, this guy, we got this problem. We can't figure out how to track these guys." Show me how we track. My daddy was we ran bagels when I was a boy. We chased deer with them down in Florida. It's called white trash fox hunting. Okay? I told this story to the Filipino how we fox hunt. I mean, not fox hunt, deer hunt. He took that to mean that was a great American tactic. Moving to contact. Guess what? We convinced him, and that's what he did. It was all based on what I told him how we would do this in the United States. Everybody has something to contribute, right? From the lowest private to the senior man. Do not discount that. That is a huge thing. All your backgrounds are very varied. Where are you from?
Orlando, Florida.
Where?
Orlando, Florida.
Orlando, Florida. Such a Florida boy. Near and dear to my heart. Doug used to beat our ass. But I'm old there. Where are you from?
Manassas, Virginia.
Manassas, Virginia. Look at the difference in that right there. And the conversations and what they grew up with and the experiences, totally different. What's significance about Manassas?
45 minutes from Washington, D.C.
No, come on, brother. Anybody ever heard of First Manassas? Second Manassas?
Bull Run.
You could call it that.
Depends on which side of the Mason-Dixon line you're
Right. So people don't know that, right? Significant American history. Why would that matter to us? Right? It tells us about ourselves, about those people. Right? You grew up in a great place. I know you know. You grew up, especially grew up. Good stuff. Responsibilities. What's that about, man?
If you give someone responsibilities outside their comfort zone, so like you put somebody in a position of responsibility that they're not used to, or they're not capable of, it can break some.
Okay.
I think it could also develop someone.
Yep.
Like if you give them responsibilities, I'm thinking of a kid growing up.
Yeah.
You give them a responsibility, hey, you sweep the floor every day, and then maybe okay, and you do dishes one night a week. You start adding responsibilities, they're going to grow as well. So it can go both ways. If you take away responsibility, you never give someone responsibilities. I think that could also develop them into being more fragile.
I like that. Anybody disagree with that? Anybody have experience with doing that? Nobody?
I don't have kids, but I mean, just kind of the pervasive thought in our group was looking at the child, and some of the guys were talking about how, they're raising their kids and what you do or don't give them or treat them. That's, I think, how we kind of approach it. How do you actually make a fragile person?
So what you're hitting on a great point. We had this happen 2 classes ago. It ended up and I didn't think of it from a responsibility piece, but how many of you have ever been in a situation where you weren't challenged and had no responsibility? It was like the most boring time of your life. Why?
No self-satisfaction in what you're doing. You just feel like you're just not conforming to the organization.
No purpose.
It didn't matter.
You don't have
Who
drive.
said that?
No purpose.
Wow. If you really wanted to make somebody fragile, it's exactly what you're talking about. It's that whole taking that purpose away, right? You don't have a purpose to get up in the morning? What the fuck to get up, right? So how does this relate to what you guys do for a living?
Give people purpose.
That's part of it.
You have to empower others, whether it's your own guys, whether you're working with post-nation forces, anybody, if you're trying to run the show, or if you are only comfortable doing it yourself, you're gonna run into problems with nobody else. You know, eventually, if you don't give somebody something to do or a purpose, they're not gonna do anything.
Right.
And you will be stuck with all of it.
I'll give you a couple examples. This is a great subject, okay, for you guys to, you don't pay attention to anything else, pay attention to this piece, okay? Because purpose is a huge thing in how well we do our job, right? First example, I had a platoon leader when I was a platoon sergeant, when I was in Korea. He was awesome. He questioned everything I did. He drove me fucking crazy. But he made me a good lieutenant. You know what I mean? Because when I came to him, I said, hey, Sergeant, this is what we're gonna do. No, we ain't doing that. That's stupid. I'm like, so I go back. So eventually I bring him a plan, and he's like, all right, I guess we gotta do what you said. That was a big compliment, right? But he was giving me a purpose, right? And then he tells me one day, hey, I got this thing I'm gonna develop for these young kids. I got this kid from West Virginia that, you know, if he doesn't have a tip in his mouth, he's got an alcohol beverage in his mouth. He's always in trouble, always fighting, always in trouble. So he said, I'm gonna make him the platoon sergeant for a week. I'm like, you doing what? He said, yeah, he's a platoon sergeant. This kid was phenomenal. He taught my platoon sergeant so much shit, he wouldn't even funny. Even my platoon sergeant did it. He was like, I would have never thought of doing that. Turned out, that changed it his whole life. And then became a team leader after that. Now he's like an EDA first sergeant out here, 82nd Airborne. All because that guy gave him responsibility. Right? We have how many of you guys have met Mr. Baines? Anybody met Mr. Baines yet? He's one of our civilian contractors. Very special guy. Okay? Former 3rd Group Special Forces, ODA commander. Okay? He got hurt back in 06 when he was a striker. He ended up having to be medically retired years later. Will came to us. I found out Will had a obsession, if you will, with fly fishing. Okay? And I'm of the mind that if you're already interested in something, I'm like, I wonder how we can put fly fishing in the course. Because I won't have to motivate you. So I said, yeah, I'll tell you what, man. I want you to take everybody to work with Sergeant Garcia. You guys work with him yet? Sam work with Kevin?
One of the classes, I think.
One of the classes is Kevin. Sergeant Garcia is 11 Bravo. Fort Benning came up to work with us. This weird old colonel. I said, hey, here's what you're going to do. You're going to go with Mr. Baines today. You're only allowed to take a pocket knife. You're going to go out to whatever the river is out here, and you're going to analyze the terrain, and you're going to figure out how to make a fly rod and a fly line and a fly and catch a fish. All you're allowed to bring is a pocket knife. Got it? He was like, all right. He's been here about 2 days. He's like, this is going to be a long year. So they went out, and they did it. It's incredible. They developed a class out of that. I didn't have to tell them to do anything. They came back, so there's a portion of our course where Mr. Baines gets to this one portion. He takes you out. And as we teach you how to analyze terrain, takes you out. All right, analyze terrain, analyze weather, analyze civilian, analyze all this stuff, figure out how to catch a fish using your analysis. That's actually even developed more now. The new OIC doesn't know this, but he's going to find out right now. But he's developed that into a MD&P scenario. Okay? I had to motivate him to do anything. I didn't tell him to do any of that. He had his own purpose. You understand what I'm saying? He's passionate about it. You got guys that are passionate about things, figure out how to use it. You won't have to tell them to do it, right? They'll spend 18 hours a day doing that. If they have ownership of it, that's part of that, right? You are the purpose provider, but you're also the purpose finder. What is your purpose in life? We're going to talk about that a lot. Okay? All right. How many in here, oh, this is a great question. How many in here know what your purpose in life is? Take a step ahead. What's your There you go. That's fucking awesome. Who was the other? Was it you? What was it?
I'd rather not discuss it.
That's the same thing, That's awesome. That is awesome. First time I did this, I had 3 people, wasn't it? Raise your hand. 3 people. 2 of them were scared of their wives, and 1 was scared he was going to go to hell. Okay? And that's great. Hey, that's your purpose. That's your purpose. I would never degrade anybody's purpose. So I was telling this story, and I said, you know, last night I was home, and I asked my wife when she was sitting at the table, and I said, hey, babe, what's your fucking purpose? She said, what? No, I mean, you like had this near-death experience last year. You're 40-something years old. What's your fucking purpose in life? And she's like, I don't know. It's like, she said, well, what's yours? She turned on me, and I'm like, I don't know, really. I think I know. So I created one, right? Decent human being. It's a pretty big goal. When he put me in the ground, I want him to say he was a noble man. He did the right thing. He made a lot of mistakes. He was loyal to his country and to his family. Not a lot more that can happen. And to his God. Right? Good stuff. But in reality, how do we create it? What does that say at the bottom? How do we coddle it? What does that mean to you guys?
If they never have to want for anything, then they never develop their ability to become less fragile.
So what? That's great. Everybody hear what he said? Say it again.
If they never have to want for anything, then they never develop themselves an ability to become less fragile.
So you gotta hurt something. So how many people think it's worse to overstress or understress a human being?
It's worse than under stress.
There's a good argument for that, right? You lay up in a bed for 6 months, do nothing but eat bonbons and watch Sopranos? Fuck your world up, right? Okay, good stuff. What else you got up there? What's the big one up there you got started?
What does a fragile person look like?
All right, so we had to look like.
That was a question that I think we were asking ourselves and trying to develop these questions to fall underneath it.
Find the necessary components to be.
So we looked at physical, emotional, intellectual, and spiritual. I think were the 4 topics that we tried to find questions there.
I like the second question. Somebody answer that. Tell me who your role models are.
My dad.
Awesome.
My grandfather.
Why are they your role models?
My dad's my role model because he has always had, the utmost integrity. He treated my mom right. He, was a great dad as far as being involved in my life and, teaching me the things that are important for me to know.
That's awesome. Man, you are, every one of you guys in here, and my one gal, if that ain't one of your goals in life, there's something wrong with you. You got youngins? That ought to be what your goal is. No. There's nothing more. I bet that would break your daddy down to you if you said that. You know what I mean? He didn't even know that's what he was doing. That's the same thing that goes with your soldiers. You think your soldiers admire your behavior and emulate your behavior? How many's got a soldier that they remember, whether it's superior or subordinate or peer, that they like to think of as a role model? Anybody? That's awesome. I'm going to tell you something. This is probably the coolest aspect of being a soldier. Okay? Everybody you work with, they are fucking phenomenal people. My first sergeant major I had in first group was a guy named John Mason Owens. And at that time, he was the true American hero soldier. He was the guy in Black Hawk Down that went back to the helicopter by himself. He was nominated for the Medal of Honor. What a great guy. Best human being I think I've ever met, besides my father. Him and my father are the two best human beings I think I've ever known. Just outstanding people. I couldn't wait to get to work. I couldn't believe it. I was like, wow, shit. I've worked with so many people. My first company commander was a guy named Tom Greer. He was the best captain in the Army, I guarantee you, when he was a captain. He wrote the book Killing Bin Laden. He led the Tora Bora raid. What a great American. I've been lucky enough to work for those guys. That's who you're going to get to work with. Don't think it's wrong to have a peer or a subordinate as a hero and emulate, especially if they got what you talked about, integrity, right? That's a huge thing. Pick your heroes carefully. Model them. What you were doing out here today, that improv, that acting, that's what we all do every day. You get to choose that character, right? You got good examples all around. That's awesome. How do we compromise what they value? What's that about?
Take someone's like their personal values or their spiritual values, and you make them question, hey, is this actually, am I thinking my values actually right? You know, it makes them question their whole purpose in life, their whole, you know, meaning of how they view life.
Let me ask you guys this. What do you think you actually value? Do you know? Talk to me, guys.
I think some things.
What would happen if you lost your house today?
I think that I value a lot of material things in different ways. You know, some things like that are biological needs, I think I definitely value those. Other things that are not needs, you know, I maybe value them to a lesser extent. Maybe I value them too much. But yeah,
I know
if I didn't have a house today, I think that would be a pretty crushing blow.
Yep.
I mean,
think so.
I think I would recover from it, but it would definitely put me under.
Here's the thing you need to think about when we think about value, okay? Is what you value under your absolute control, okay? If it is, then what is it?
For me personally, what I value the relationship I have with my wife. We've been together 17 years. We met in high school.
Right.
And I value the fact that we have been each other's only.
Okay, that's awesome. Who else?
I value relationships that I have,
Yep.
either family relationships or friendships.
What if they go away?
I try to work so they don't go away. Now, if they do, you know, I have my own internal beliefs and I have my actions that I value. But I don't try to put value on like my house and my material items.
Right. That's
Because
good.
those have gone away.
Yes.
And I've had to
Yep.
rebuild. So I've been into that position where I've had to really focus on, okay, well, that was something I can, you know, save money and get again.
So what can someone never take away from you without your permission?
My beliefs.
Okay, values. What else? Talking about all one.
Integrity.
That's right. That's the one sole thing you possess, right? That no one can take away unless you allow it to happen, right? That's why we're talking about all this, right? Because all those things can influence how do we get fear and guilt power, right? That could cause you to lose that, right? Good stuff. That's a good question. Good stuff. All right. Your group, who's got the question? Sloan. Yes, sir. What about getting up on that table?
All right. All right, so we, as far as our questions, we kind of looked at it as if we were asking our grandmother and.
Oh, sorry. Stay right there. Did you guys ask your grandmother?
not that I have phones in the building, sir, so I couldn't call her. But the grandmother that I had in my head actually passed away, but I could see her answering these questions vividly.
And if we probably try to call her.
Now, if I could reward you guys for defying my orders, I would, but I can't. I like that. That was pretty good improv. Okay? So, I know you got a phone in your fucking car. You gotta call mama on the way home. Who doesn't call mama on the way home? You guys go call your grandma. Did you guys call?
We called my dad.
What did he say?
He said never anything they do is not good enough. You know, like I did with you.
Hey, has anybody ever had worked for somebody like that? That's a lot of fun, isn't it? You? You have a commander like that?
My wife.
Your wife? That's awesome. I'll tell you the key to making your wife happy is making sure all her friends are married as she is. Sage advice.
All right, but, okay, so, more questions, we'd say, as if we're asking our grandmother, what would you do if a toddler were reaching for a stove? You know, so we had a conversation, so, Grandma, if you saw a toddler reaching for a stove, what would you do? We'd say, some of our grandmothers would say, oh no, you have to stop the child so they don't hurt themselves. I've been like, some of our grandmothers would say, oh, this is gonna be funny, and just let it happen. Like, you learned, didn't you? So that was our idea.
So you guys are saying that preventing people from small harm and failure will make them fragile. Is that what you're talking about?
But, yeah, but we also went into it, you know, if a child, they may be reaching for a stove, but if they're reaching for a stove and there's a huge pot of boiling water on there, that could.
Let me ask you this, this is interesting, you can answer this. How do we do that with soldiers?
Micromanage.
Who said, how do we micromanage?
By giving them a checklist for everything they do, and constantly having them check with you and telling them, I'm not gonna tell you how to do it, but this is how you're gonna do it. As opposed to going with the first sentence.
Right. How many of you understand right now that your job as a detachment commander is to live a grand illusion that you're responsible for everything your unit does and fails to do? Everybody understand that? Do you have the integrity to stand up and go, that was my fault, sir, when it was your guys that screwed up? Even though you know you had nothing to do with it. Right? How many in here's got a letter of reprimand? Anybody?
Closed twice.
What's that?
Closed twice.
For that type of thing?
Telling my boss no, his boss there.
Mm-hmm. You?
I got one without even knowing about it. I found out after the company commander left. I had a platoon sergeant, or active platoon sergeant, my only NCO in the platoon, didn't check licenses. Anyways, we had a scraper going down the road, hit a parked car, almost killed a guy. And apparently it was all my fault because I didn't check with my active platoon sergeant.
You weren't even like actively involved.
I wasn't actively involved.
Okay.
Still got a letter of reprimand for it.
You think you deserved it?
Honestly, no.
Okay.
We got one.
You got one?
We had a company policy, everybody goes up, climbs the rope 3 times before you go home.
Yep.
Check my squad leader, says everybody climb the ropes, we go brief to get out of here. Yep, everybody climb the ropes. Go tell the commander. Commander comes in and says, well, these 2 soldiers get inside here helping me. Just give me a false report.
Do you think you deserved it?
I didn't set the standard.
God, we got 14. I got mine on my second trip down to PI. I had some guys that we were working for. We were doing a security assistance mission. We worked for the embassy actually, and we had to write a con-op. If you guys want to go out to the restaurant, if you guys want to go have a couple beers. I happened to be the senior captain in the AOB. The whole AOB was in. If you don't know what that is, that's the company. And the company commander had taken off with a sergeant major to go up to Manila for something, and we put the con-op in, and everybody blessed off on it. And then evidently the boys misunderstood what 2 beers meant. They thought it meant first and last. And, they hit a light pole, and well, the rest was history. Company commander was relieved, sergeant major was relieved, even his fucking senior warrant was relieved. I was sent home, kicked out of the country, and put on administrative leave. Okay? Ended up receiving a battalion letter reprimand. Everybody else ruined their whole careers. Now, was it my fault when those guys went out there and drank that beer? They violated their conduct? Yes. Because they were my guys. I didn't like it. I thought they were inappropriate behavior and that they ought to be hammered. They're my guys. My job. I know it's an illusion. Better learn to live it. Now, the commander in Iraq sent us out in July of Iraq. We started receiving the FOBs, American FOBs started receiving, like, I don't remember what kind of rockets they were called, but they received these bombs they would drop on them. And my company was the only company that was allowed at that time to go out and do operations. They called us up, hey, we need you guys to go down, hit this target. And so we said, all right, so we got our plans together and we went down and hit the target. 2 o'clock in the morning. Anybody know what a SIF is? Everybody know what that is? You know what it is? It's kind of like very similar to what Rangers do. We have those kind of skills, urban skills, if you will. Okay, we generally support JSOC type operation. So we have a propensity for kinetic operations, if you will. Okay, that's what we specialize in. I'm very good at that. So he called me up and he said, "Hey, Mike, I understand you guys didn't get jackpot tonight." And I'm like, "No, we did not, sir." He said, "Did you guys blow the door off tonight?" I said, "Sir, I watched it on Kill TV. Yeah, we blew the door off, threw flashbangs, scared the shit out of everybody that was in there." I said, "Do you realize we are the SIF, right?" He said, "I got it." I don't know. He covered for us. It's the best battalion commander I ever worked for. I've had that happen before, where I spent weeks explaining myself of what we do for a living. Because somebody's scared that their little career is going to get. You understand what I'm saying? Somebody in here is going to go down for what your guys do, and you're not going to have anything to do with it. It's your job. You got to pretend you're responsible for it. You got to act like you're responsible for it. It's the only way we can function. Okay? I'm sorry, that's the way it is. I'll never be a battalion commander. Okay? That's the way it is. That's the way it's got to be. There's plenty of good guys out there to be a battalion commander besides me. Okay? They ain't the end of the world. Right? They can still be a decent human being. Still live a noble life. Right? They ain't the end of the world. I get to sit around and do with it. They're out there wearing their asses off. Here I am, bullshit like that. Right? Good stuff. Okay? What else? What's the best single question you got on that page?
No, all right. One of the questions would be was asking about how you would punish a child. How do you punish a child for wrongdoing? And it's better to use timeout, use a hand, belt paddle, words, or hammer. Hammer doesn't have to be a physical hammer.
Right.
I imagine like a
But
real
the
hammer.
question is, if you're going to build a fragile person, you focus on how you punish them. Is that what you're saying?
Correct. In general, so like our questions really can take you down 2 roads. I mean, you know, giving fragile, I really didn't really play into the robust, but the answers can go either way.
Right.
So I think as we discussed, to answer the question, how do you build a fragile person, the answers you get back, if you left it open-ended enough, could take you down the other road to the anti-fragile.
Right.
So I think, you know, some of our grandmothers may have been kind of fragile on us, others maybe have been kind of hammer folks.
Right.
And we try to ask questions that would get us to one of those roads.
So part of your job is going to be figuring out when you hammer and when you don't, right? Like with you. think probably a better solution for that company commander was to bring him inside, sit down. Okay, man, this is what's going on. We need that big buck teeth. Two guys that climbed the road. I know you were unaware of it. Right? Simple as that. Probably would have remembered that. Probably would have not done it again. Probably would have checked. Right? Instead, we created this toxic environment, I'm assuming. Is that what happened?
He handled it pretty well. It was a letter of concern, so he handled it in the office.
Okay. Be aware that you bring a hammer too much. I brought a hammer down on a kid and he murdered another Green Beret 6 months later. Directly related to it. Okay? I gotta live with that. Still think it was the right thing to do. Can't control him. But I have to say that I'm probably partially responsible for igniting or being a catalyst of that, right? Okay? Your profession is not an easy profession, okay? It means you're gonna have many sleepless nights. If you're not, then you're not a decent human being, okay? You should be worried about what's going on with your guys, okay? And feeling responsible for being a person. Everybody remember the kid got killed out here at Selection? Everybody know about this? 2008? That was my 3rd day in command. That's bringing his daddy out to the ground where I found him. Still think about it every day. Officer of World War IV. Like, that's part of my experiences we talk about. Like, even though I told everybody, we shouldn't be doing this. Wrote a 60-page risk assessment on how we were going to kill somebody. Still didn't matter. I violated everything the commander told me to do. I wouldn't allow them to carry a ruck over 35 pounds. We had to have so much water, so much sleep. We violated everything. Had to do everything at night. Still didn't matter. We still killed a guy. He was a great American, 19 years old, University of Florida student, decided to become a Green Beret. You know why? He told me, he said he wanted to make his daddy proud. It's the only reason he was there. Now I gotta live with that. Kill that. Okay? It ain't an easy job. You better be starting thinking about this stuff. If you don't, you're gonna be caught short and you're gonna compromise. That's the most important thing. All right. Same groups. This time we have to go to the parking lot. Call those folks. I want to know how we build somebody that's anti-fragile. Now, let's define what that means. Who can define anti-fragile? Yes.
Someone that gets better under stress.
Awesome. It's like Hydra. Everybody know what Hydra is? Anybody? That's right. Who does that sound like? Anybody been fighting an enemy 15 fucking years? In 60 countries in the world? Right? Think about those things. Okay? Because it's anti-fragile doesn't mean it's always good. Okay? Alright. Quick big groups, same procedures. Okay? If you guys can, this time, please be a little bit more like this group. Put it on the bucket. Okay? Alright. And I expect phone calls.
Sounds like